Today, you'll learn the 16 most common adverbs in English. Adding these adverbs to your speech will help you sound more fluent and advanced in English. Welcome back to JForrest English. Of course, I'm Jennifer. Now let's get started. The most common adverb that natives use in our daily speech is actually. Actually. This is used to correct, clarify, or add surprising information. I hear a lot of students use this adverb, but they're not using it correctly. Now, when you're learning adverbs, you also need to pay attention to where they come in the sentence. So I'll share the different placements naturally in the examples I give you. Now, remember that actually is used to clarify or correct information. So let's say someone says, "Would you like a cup of coffee?" But you want to clarify or correct the assumption that you like coffee. So you can start with actually, I don't drink coffee anymore. Or again, maybe someone asks you, when are you calling Sarah? But you want to correct or clarify this and say, actually, she called me this morning. You can place this adverb before the main verb and say, I actually like working early in the morning.
People have actually been working on this for like decades.
Natives commonly use this in the end position. So maybe someone asks you, how long have you known John? And you want to correct or clarify this. We just met. Actually. So you can add it at the end. So as we go through this lesson, notice the placement of the adverbs. And don't worry about taking notes. I summarize everything in a free lesson PDF. You can find the link in the description. Before we go on to our next adverb, you may be thinking, Jennifer, what is an adverb? Adverbs modify or describe verbs, adjectives, and entire sentences. They answer how or to what degree. So you can say she spoke, but if you want to answer how or to what degree, you can add an adverb to modify the verb and say she spoke quietly, quickly, or forcefully, which of course changes the idea quite a lot. Now also notice that most adverbs end in ly. And if you want to ask me questions about this or other confusing grammar topics, and if you want to submit written and spoken exercises for personalized feedback and correction, you can do that when you join my premium coaching program, the Finally Fluent Academy. You can find the link in the description to learn more. Our next adverb is hardly. Pay attention to this one because this means almost not or very little.
There's hardly any geological activity on Mars.
You can say hardly anyone applied for the job. This means almost nobody applied. Or notice this sentence, I hardly worked this weekend. If you say this, it means you worked very little. Now compare this to I worked hard this weekend. This means I worked a lot, so don't confuse those two. In this example, hard is an adjective, not an adverb. Or you might say she hardly sleeps now that she's a mom. Again, this means she sleeps very little. Now, hardly and barely have the same meaning and they're synonymous. They're both very commonly used. So you can say, I hardly worked this weekend, I barely worked this weekend. Let's review honestly. This is used to show sincerity or mild frustration. So you might say, honestly, I don't know what to get my sister for her birthday. But maybe you say it with some frustration and say, honestly, he should have told us earlier. So in that case, it's really the tone that will let you know if you're just being sincere, honest, or if you're slightly frustrated. And hopefully you're being honest when you say, I honestly love learning English with JForrest English. Does that describe you? If it does, put that's right, put that's right in the comments. Let's say you're at a friend's house and you spilled your coffee. You say, oh no, I'm so sorry, I spilled my coffee on your new rug. And your friend graciously says, it's not a big deal. Honestly, It's not a big deal, honestly. So adding it at the end is common in casual speech. And then they provide the reason why it won't stain.
Honestly, the answer is complex.
Basically is very commonly used. This means in simple terms or the most important point, or it can also mean for the most part. You can say basically we need more time. So if you had to take all the information and summarize it to one thing, basically we need more time.
Basically, I've turned stress into the enemy.
Or you can say, basically, he forgot to email them. So there may be many reasons why the client is mad, but the most important point, if you had to summarize it, you can say, basically, he forgot to email them. You can say, she's basically done with the project. This means for the most part. There might be one or two minor things left, but she's basically done, 95% done. Or you can say the client wanted a cheaper option, basically. Again, maybe there are many things the client wanted, but the most important is a cheaper option. And notice I added it at the end, which sounds more conversational and slightly more casual. Now let's review literally. This adverb is used a lot by native speakers. Some may even argue too much because it can be used as a word filler, but it is very important as an adverb. It means in a real, exact way.
Without him, I never could have played Joe Biden, literally.
So if you're describing a problem, you can say the handle literally fell off the door as I turned it. So you're letting the person know this is exactly what happened. I'm not exaggerating it. You can put it at the beginning and say, literally, the handle fell off the door as I turned it. Or again, you can put it at the end to sound more casual and say, the handle fell off the door as I turned it. Literally, this is exactly what happened. Now, native speakers often use it for emphasis, but not in a real exact way. So a lot of native speakers will say things like, I literally can't keep my eyes open. But this simply means that I'm really tired. But they say, I literally can't keep my eyes open. But that's not actually true because you can. You're just exaggerating. Or a native speaker might say, I'm so hungry, I could literally eat everything in the fridge. But again, of course, that isn't true exactly. You're not going to open the fridge and eat everything. It's just a way to exaggerate how hungry you are. Now let's review seriously. This is used to show importance, frustration, or disbelief, and it just depends on the context. So I might say, seriously, you need to subscribe to JForrest English. I want you to understand the importance of this, and seriously, you should. Or maybe you might say with mild frustration or disbelief, they seriously underestimated her. Or you can say, it's the best movie I've seen. Seriously. So in this case, you're again emphasizing that point. You're showing the importance of it.
I'm taking this way too seriously right now.
Let's review virtually. Virtually. This means almost or nearly completely. Virtually everyone disagreed with the plan. So almost everyone disagreed with the plan. Maybe there was one person out of 20 that didn't, but you can still use virtually. Or you might be describing a mall, a restaurant, a cafe, and say the place was virtually empty. So this is like saying the place was almost empty. Yes, maybe there was one person in the cafe, but at lunchtime on a Friday, you expected it to be busy.
When still, shorebirds like this Dunlin virtually disappear.
Now maybe you want to emphasize the importance of this and say, seriously, the place was virtually empty. You absolutely can use multiple adverbs together. Or maybe your friend would say, Becoming fluent alone is virtually impossible. It's almost impossible. Yes, some students can do it, but not the majority. It's virtually impossible. And that's why you should seriously subscribe. Let's review obviously. Obviously. This is in a way that's easy to see or understand. I use this adverb a lot, but sometimes I get in trouble when I use it because I use it somewhat sarcastically or with frustration, and my husband doesn't appreciate when I say obviously to him.
Obviously, I've had a lot of time to think about it.
So you may say, obviously, we need to fix this bug before the client arrives. But again, if your boss or your colleague says that to you, there may be a hint of frustration or a sense of, why are you even asking me this? Obviously, we need to do this. Or maybe if you're describing someone's performance, you can say, she didn't spend much time preparing for the interview, obviously. That's easy to see because she did a poor job answering our questions. Now you can also use this to strengthen a statement and say, that's obviously not true. So if someone is trying to tell you something, but there's clear evidence to the contrary, you can say that's obviously not true. And here's an example where I use it and then my husband reminds me that maybe it wasn't the best choice on my part. He comes in and says, do you need help with dinner? In a very nice, helpful way. But I'm busy doing 10 things at once, and I turn to him and I say, obviously, clearly it's easy to see. So be careful when you use this. Let's review especially. Especially, this means more than others, and it's used to emphasize. So you can say, I love sushi, but then you want to emphasize one specific type of sushi and say, especially salmon rolls.
The area became especially sacred to the Lakota people.
Or we love the movie, especially the ending. So the entire movie was great, but there's one part that you want to emphasize, the ending, especially the ending. Or you can say sleep is especially important for new moms. So notice here, sleep is important for new moms. Important is an adjective. Remember, adverbs can modify adjectives to make it stronger. Sleep is especially important for new moms. It's important for everyone, but especially new moms. Let's review apparently. Apparently. This is based on what seems to be true, but keep in mind, it's not verified.
Which is apparently very, very, very small.
So if your coworker says, apparently the meeting was canceled, you should still confirm, because if your coworker used apparently, they're letting you know, I think this is true, but I'm not 100% positive. So if you want to guess at a reason or motivation, you can say she apparently didn't get the message. Again, not verified. Or in gossip, they're breaking up, apparently, because you don't know this to be true 100%. Let's review probably. Probably. This means more than a 50% chance. So why didn't Ted update the Excel? Probably he forgot. He probably forgot. He forgot, probably. So notice those different placements. And this is saying, well, I'm just guessing, and there's a 50% chance I'm right, but then there's also a 50% chance I'm wrong. So if someone says to you, I'll probably come to your party, that's not a good sign.
You'd probably be a little stressed out.
And when sharing plans, but you want to make it sound like you're undecided, you can say, we'll probably just stay home all weekend. Now, what you want to hear in many cases is definitely, definitely. This means for sure, without question, 100%. I'll definitely come to your party. That's what you want to hear. So if I ask you, are you going to watch my next video? I want you to just say definitely. You can say that one word, put it in the comments, or you can add the full sentence, definitely, I'll watch it, your next video. I'll definitely watch it. I'll watch it, Definitely.
We definitely didn't do this the correct way.
Let's review. Absolutely. This is for strong agreement. It's very similar to definitely. So you can say absolutely, I'll help, or I absolutely agree with you. Now, definitely, you're expressing certainty about events or actions, and absolutely, you're showing strong emphasis, agreement, or intensity of feeling or opinion. An important adverb for you is frequently. Frequently. This means happening often or repeatedly.
It's frequently a close call, as it was this time.
You can use this at the beginning. Frequently, my students ask me how to permanently remember vocabulary. I get this question a lot, repeatedly. Or my students frequently ask me for lessons on phrasal verbs. Again, every day I see this request. Or you can say he travels for work frequently. Now, frequently is a key word for the present simple. So those three examples were in the present simple. Let's review immediately. Immediately, this means right away without delay. Immediately call the doctor if you feel unwell. So there's a sense of urgency in this. Or you can say, I immediately started working on the project. Now, if someone asks you, can you make sure the boardroom is set up before the meeting? If you want to show a sense of urgency, you can reply back and say, I'll do that immediately. So that's a great adverb for you to use if you want to express urgency.
He immediately went home, which took him a lot of time.
Let's review eventually. Eventually. This means in the end, after some time or delay. So you can say, eventually she found a new assistant.
Eventually, he landed a six-figure job at a blue-chip tech company in Dallas.
When you use this, it sounds like it took her some time, longer than expected, to find a new assistant. So again, adverbs are very important because they express meaning. If you say he eventually agreed to the plan, it sounds like at the beginning he disagreed or he had a different idea and it took some convincing. Or if you say we got to the airport eventually, you know there's a story. There's a story about missed taxis, late Ubers, awful traffic, you forgot your passport. There's some sort of story involved. Those are the 16 most common adverbs that native speakers use. Do you want me to keep helping you expand your vocabulary? If you do, put yes, 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 put yes, yes, yes in the comments below. And of course, make sure you like this lesson, share it with your friends, and subscribe so you're notified every time I post a new lesson. And you can get this free speaking guide where I share 6 tips on how to speak English fluently and confidently. You can click here to download it or look for the link in the description. And here's another lesson I know you'll love. Watch it now.